Well, hello there, and welcome to a book launch livecast here with Ignite Press. I am Everett O'Keefe, the founder of Ignite Press, and this is really going to be fun. We have today here, we are really broadcasting around the world because I'm going to be introducing you to Adrian Florea from Romania, and he has brought a terrific message about organizational change, about business culture and leadership. And we are going to dive into that in just a couple minutes. Here at Ignite Press, we specialize in helping people bring their message to the world. So if you've been working on a book or you have thought of a book that you need for your business or brand, then reach out to us at ignitepress.us. That's ignitepress.us. And I would be happy to sit down with you and have a conversation about your book. So this one's exciting, and we've been working on this project for a little bit. Adrian published this book in Romania, where it has been very, very well received, and now he is bringing it to the United States and actually all the rest of the world. So let's bring in Adrian now. Good morning, good evening.
Good evening for us. Good morning for you. It's okay. Hi.
Yeah. It is great to see you, Adrian. Thanks so much for being here today. And
thank you for the opportunity. Yeah.
Hey, our pleasure. And this is a big day because the book is launching. In fact, let me put this graphic up real quick so people see this. Today is the U.S. and the world launch of STELL R, a practical guide to managing organizational culture. And right now it's on special. You can get it on the Kindle version is in the U.S. is 99 cents. It's an equivalent to that really around the world right now, and people can pick up the Kindle version on that launch special. And if you're watching this on a replay, I'm sorry you missed the launch special, but still well worth it by all means. Well, Adrian, why don't we start by doing this? Would you tell the audience who you are and what you're about?
You know, this is not an easy question. Always the question who you are, it's a deep one. Or I can present myself very easily as being a businessman. I started a company 24 years ago, and it's a big consultancy company here in Romania. And it took us about 20 years to realize what we are doing in this market, and that would be cultural transformation. Yeah, so this is why I decided to print this book, to publish this book, because it's about our methodology in transforming organizational cultures in the organization that we are working with.
Now, how long have you had the book in play in Romania? I know it's new now to the U.S. and the rest of the world, but how long?
We published the book 1 year ago. So we started in September last year. And in a country like Romania, for selling about 8,000 copies, it's a huge success. I mean, for a specialized book like this, because it's not for everyone, it's only for those interested in organizational culture and HR issues and management issues and stuff like that. To have those numbers, it's quite a bestseller. Yeah.
Absolutely. And in fact, selling 8,000 copies here in the U.S. would be no small accomplishment either. In fact, one that very, very few authors actually experience. So really, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What first made you sit down and decide to write this book?
You know, it's somehow a dream for, I don't know if for everybody, but at least for me, it was a dream to have a book and somehow to pass over to anybody who might be interested some of my experience, some of our projects, if you read the book, you'll see that it's not all about good experiences or best scenarios and the best practices. I also share some of our not so happy experiences. So I really think this is in itself valuable, and that was the intention, to summarize in a very easy way a very effective methodology of changing habits in organizations, and to be able to share our experience in doing so for, as I said, the last 20 years, 24 years, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's get into some of your content here, if you would. I know that your book is very strong on culture,
Yeah.
and on helping businesses with their business culture. And there was a phrase that you used, and I'm going to go to it just so I don't get it wrong. You referred, when you're talking about culture, you were talking about cultural superheroes
Yeah.
in a business. What did you mean by that?
You know, in order to understand culture, and moreover, in order to influence culture, you will have to decide what would be the habits that you'd like to change. Even if we talk about mindset, or we talk about values, or we talk about principles, the only thing that you can measure is behavior, and this is what we try to change. And if you try to understand how people choose their behavior, one of the most important factors that influences their behavior is the behavior of the leader, or at least the most experienced individual of the group, who would generate something we call the behavioral norma for the group. Yeah. And there are ways of identifying in an organization who are those guys. Yeah, there are websites and applications capable of identifying who are the most influential people in an organization. Those guys are the cultural or the culture generators. Their behaviors is more important than the others, because it's not only the effect or the results of their own behaviors, but they also influence the behaviors of other people in the organization. So if you try to transform the organization, you will have to identify first who are those cultural heroes, because having them on board first, and having them on your side, if you try to influence a larger group of people in the organization, is maybe the best idea, and it's the easiest way of avoiding very difficult obstacles if you do other ways.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, it is kind of interesting that you do see whether what the cultural influence is not necessarily dependent upon the org chart of the business, right? You'll see those people who are maybe way down in the organizational chart, but have an inordinate influence on the culture.
But, I would say that is already common knowledge. Even if you have a very clear chart of who's in charge in your organization, people know that the influence is not the same as the chart. And if you try to influence or to change habits, you will have to identify who are those heroes first. Yeah, and if they choose to change, then you might have a chance. If they choose to oppose or to fight against the change, your chances are dropping significantly. Yeah, so it's somehow a political game from this point of view. But this is only one side or one part of the book. Yeah, there are 6 other factors that would influence those habits of the people.
Yeah, in fact, let's get into those. You created the, Stellar isn't just the name of the book, right? It's a model that you've created. You want to walk us through that? Yeah,
it's an acronym. Yeah, Stellar. It's an acronym. It represents the 6 factors that I consider as being very important in influencing people's habits in an organization. So the first one would be, if I take it from the back to the beginning, the first one would be to define the expected results. So the final R stands for results. what are the results that you want to generate for your business? And I'm not talking about target. Everybody knows what's the target for this year or for this month or for this quarter and stuff like that. But what is the future of the organization that you would like to build together with the people in the organization? How does this future looks like? And of course, I bring in terms like vision and the mission and the strategy, strategic directions and strategic objectives. In our experience, those terms even are very common terms, and everybody knows the significance of those terms. They do not make part of the common conversation with the people across the organization, and we encourage leadership to do that. The second letter stands for the leadership behavior. As I mentioned before, the leaders of the group are many times the same as the cultural superheroes. So people are looking at them in order to understand what would be the best behavior to choose in specific circumstances. The third letter, it's the organizational layout, the way the organization is organized, if you have departments, if you have areas, if you have teams, if you have projects. When we talk about job descriptions and job information, all those structural part that will influence the behavior of the people. Then the fourth letter is the expected behavior. So you have the classical PPP, politics, processes, and what's the third one? Yeah, process, politics. It's PPP. Everybody knows it. Yeah. Okay, so the expected behavior that are described in those processes and in those politics. And many times people are put in a difficult situation where they have to choose whether to respect the policy of the company or they should behave as the leader does. Yeah, and sometimes this is a very tough question because they see different behavior between the expectations or the procedure and what the leaders in the organization actually do. And then you have a very tough point. The fifth element is called true to self. And this element reaches a very sensitive, very complicated subject, which is called real values. Real values helps you decide what would be the best decision. The real values are used for making decisions in your life. And sometimes real values from your life are different than the aspirational values of your organization. And if you are in this situation, you feel something that we called cultural tension. It's the difference between what you understand that organization expects from you, but you cannot deliver because you see the life in a different colors or you have different life principles. Those are the real values. And if you have major differences between the real values the leadership of the organization operates with and the stated, as aspirational values that you see on the walls and you see in the cultural book of the organization, then you might have a huge cultural tension inside the organization. So you have to fix that. And the first letter of the acronym, the S, stands for the skills that you need in order to align all those, the remaining five factors. In today's business environment, it's not a tough job to do because there are a lot of training providers and information is everywhere. It's very easy to find a good training course and to improve your skills. So, and this is why I prefer to take them backwards, to start with
I
the
was
R
going to ask. I was going
and
to ask.
with the S, because the S is the easy task. And we discovered that doing this, we have a huge business in the training industry here in Romania, and many years we believed that that would be the most important factor. But after those 24 years of experience, we realized that that was only the easiest factor, not the most important one. Yeah, and it would be critical to arrange and to align and to adjust the other fives in order to reach to the sixth one, which is somehow the easiest.
So I'm really glad you got to that, because I was going to ask, why is the acronym back? Or why are you laying out the acronym for us in reverse?
It's much easier to understand. Everything starts with the expected results. Yeah, so this is why.
That's it, and that's kind of where my mind went, was like, okay, the R for results is last because those are the last things that you're going to see, but but the first thing you should be looking at, right? The first, like, you need to determine what the results are in order for the rest of these things to fall into place properly.
And it's very clear in our methodology that everything starts with this final R in your mind. But in order to end up with those expected results, you should start with there in your mind. And in order to start with there in your mind, you have to clarify them. And many times we see that it's a major breakthrough for our business people here, to discover that having a clear definition of the expected results and having a common vision and an aligned definition of the most important strategic direction of the organization should be enough, because the rest comes by itself.
Now, we have a question came in off of LinkedIn. I want to pull it up here and share it with you. Alexa asks, what is your greater goal with the STELL R model on the long term after the launch of the book?
I was somehow surprised by the success of the model itself here in the Romanian market. When we started with this, it was very easy just to share with the rest of the people interested in the subject what is our methodology, our intervention methodology. But seeing that people really enjoy such a simple and clear model, of course, we thought, wow, this is not only for our country, especially because Romania is not such a big country. Yeah. And that would be the dream. Yeah, maybe this is a model for many other people in business. And organizational culture is not such a popular subject. Yeah, so somehow I dream I can influence this subject around the globe, and to become one of those authors, with something memorable, something very easy and very useful to apply.
Excellent. So let me go back to this just to share for everybody, to remind them that today STELL R is launching worldwide, and we're currently tracking the launch results across all of the various Amazon platforms. The Kindle has been placed on a special launch price of 99 cents, and you can pick that up today. And of course, the paperback is also available. But let me share with you, if you don't normally read Kindle, that's great. Some people go, one way or the other, but go ahead and pick up the Kindle copy anyway, because it's 99 cents, and your purchase will actually help propel this book toward bestseller and help the message get to more people. So please go ahead and pick that up. Now, there was another point you had brought up in your book, and you talked about, when you're talking about achieving desired results, you talked about tactical noise. And I thought that was a really interesting phrase. Can you go into tactical noise a little bit?
Yeah, it's funny because even it's easy now to state something like tactical noise, and we have even an image representing the red fish, as a symbol of this tactical noise. It was not a concept that I imagined in, I don't know, somewhere being silent. It was the outcome of a practical workshop with the management team. And it was generated by me standing at the flip chart trying to help them figure out what's the problem. They cannot follow the strategy. Yeah, and making a small sign every time they identify a factor that will affect, that will influence their ability or inability to follow the strategy. It was just like a red, somehow round shape. Yeah, and when I identified that red shape, it was something like a fish. And it was very funny to see red fish on the flip chart. And that was the moment of generating this redfish concept. And the way we identify is the tactical noise. Every single factor that will influence you in choosing the behavior, which is different by the right one according to your strategy. Yeah, so having phones around, having colleagues, having a lot of noise, not only noise generated by others, but a lot of noise in our head, all of those factors might affect us, and they will influence a different choice in our behavior instead of the right one according to our strategy. So because of the noise, we tend to choose different actions instead of the ones that we decided that would be the best ones when we stayed calm and imagined our future and we took the right decision according to our strategy. And this is why we call it tactical noise,
Tactical noise.
because it generates a huge impact on our tactics, but it's not the right influence. It's a noise. Yeah.
Absolutely. Another great question just came through.
Yeah.
Yulia says or asks, what inspired the development of the Stellar model, and how does it fundamentally differ from other approaches to organizational culture transformation?
So it was not a model generated by inspiration. As I told you, it was just a way of synthesizing our methodology of intervention in the cultural project. Yeah. So, and that would be the difference between Stellar and maybe other models who help people understanding the organizational culture subject. This is not a model for diagnosing the culture. This is not a model for measuring the culture. This is a model for transforming the culture. So we discovered that there are not so many consultants who would accept interventional projects. So we are called when people say for their business, look, I see this and that, and those habits are toxic, and I want to change them. Can you help me with that? And avoiding or evaluating the culture in itself and measuring it, it's not enough, because most of the time people are saying, okay, now it's clear what's the problem, but how can you change that? Stellar is the answer to this question. How can I change that? And by twisting, by shaping in the right way those 6 factors, you will have the right influence on the habits inside your company. So the main difference, I would say, is that using Stellar, you can change the culture. It's not only about measuring the culture or evaluating it.
Excellent. I think that was a fantastic answer to that question, Adrian.
Yeah.
Now we have a few minutes left, and I've got another question that's come in here too. But I also wanted to make sure that we get into anything that you would like to lay out there, because you've had the opportunity to work with businesses, and in fact, one of the questions came in also asks, is can you give an example of a practical example of how you've used this model with a business or an organization?
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely. And you will
take
have
some
a
share.
lot of examples in the book because having or being an outcome or an output of our experience, of course, we used a lot of practical examples in the book. Yeah, we stay with the company for about 1 year, and we regularly meet with the leadership team, following the frame which is presented by the model itself. So we have key points of the intervention that we have to follow. And there are some major key questions that the leadership team has to answer. And by having a common and an aligned answer to those questions, a lot of ideas pop up, and that would be easier than to cascade across the organization. So it's an intervention and a way of working only with the leadership team, but in the same time, to understand what happens with the habits of the people in the company might be very interesting, um, also for the HR people, for managers of different layers, not only for the GM or the CEO. And from many point of view, for anybody who might be interested in why what I see in the company happens. Yeah, what's the reason behind why people behave like they do behave? Yeah, so
Excellent.
that was the story behind the book.
Excellent. Okay, now I have to ask, if you don't mind, behind you on your banner, you have not only the name of your company, Trend Consult, but
Yes,
also something else, Sonexi. Do you want
yeah.
to tell us briefly what Sonexi is?
You will hear about Sonexi very soon. Yeah, it's a crazy project and it's a huge one. We discovered that there is no social network for smart people, and we thought maybe it's a crazy idea, but a very good one to create a place where everybody can share, can brag about what they learn and how they learn it. And by doing so, they might inspire many other people to do the same. So it's a quiet and smart social network for making people even smarter together. It's about learning. It's about very interesting stuff. Nexi means nerdy and sexy. So we try to influence people to believe that learning is sexy and being smart is really, really cool, not something to avoid. Why not?
I am excited that we're going to hear more about that in the time ahead. Adrian, thank you so much. And if people want to get in touch with your company, should they go to your company website?
Of course, they can visit the company website, and they might even write me directly. Of course, I'm looking forward to receiving a lot of messages and feedback about the book and the projects in general.
All right.
So,
With your permission, I'm going to go ahead and put your email
please,
and
yes,
all of that into the chat log there. But for anyone who doesn't see the chat, his website is trendconsult.eu, and the website or the email address is adrian.florea, Florea, at trendconsult.edu.
yeah.
So you can do that. Well, thank you again, and congratulations again on your
Thank you
book.
so much.
It's doing great. Of course, you're going to have some results to share with people in the days ahead in regards to your launch. But thank you again for trusting us with the book.
Thank you for your help, Everett. It was great.
Really, our pleasure in doing that. Well, everybody, there you go. That's Adrian Florea with Trend Consult in Romania, and doing incredible things. If you have a book that you are interested in bringing to the world, even if it's just in your head at this point, please reach out to us at ignitepress.us. We would love to have a conversation with you about your book. And of course, make sure to go out and buy STELL R today on Amazon. Thank you again for your time. Take care, and we'll see you on the next launch and the next live cast. Take care. you.